Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. May I request our past president, Mr. C.D. Gopinath, and our president, Mr. Ramesh, to come to the dais, please. On behalf of my president and the committee, I extend a warm welcome to you all for the launch of the Coffee Table book as part of our 175th year celebrations. Given the prevailing pandemic restrictions, we have arranged for a virtual launch of the Coffee Table book, which is webcast live for the viewing of our members. The launch of the Coffee Table book, which carries the history of this esteemed club, is special as MCC for us carries a lot of wonderful memories and moments to cherish for all of us. May I now request our president, Mr. Ramesh, to address the gathering, please.
Good evening, gentlemen. It's my pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to all my respected past presidents and my colleagues in the committee. Not yet? Better? Better? Okay, thank you. Yeah, a very warm welcome to all my respected past presidents and my colleagues in the committee. And, we have 19 past presidents. Out of the 19, 2 of them are outstationed, Mr. Rajendran and Mr. Raghubale Rao. Of the remaining, 4 of them have expressed their inability to be here today due to reasons of health. Mr. N. Shankar, Mr. N. Kumar, Mr. P. N. Nagaraj, and Mr. Deepak Subramaniam, who is traveling and he should be joining us a little later. And I think it's very nice that all the remaining past presidents have made it convenient for them to be here today at this special occasion. It's indeed a very special occasion. 175 years. I think we are only the second club in Madras to do this. And I think we're more proud of the fact that we've been here at this same place all the time. So it's got a very significant importance. And I would like to convey my special thanks on behalf of the committee to Mr. C.D. Gopinath, who's driven down all the way from Kunur to be here with us. In fact, when I spoke to him, he said 9 months a year we live in Kunur. We come down only in December. But I cannot miss the function, any function in the cricket club, which has been my second home, and practically spent all my memorable moments there. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And well, when we started this 175th year, 1846 being the year of founding of the club, 2021 was the 175th year. So we wanted to do the celebrations in a big way. The pandemic, I think, laid low all our plans. We couldn't do anything much. And actually, I waited till almost the end of the period, which I've got 2 more weeks as the president of this club. And the incoming president and my colleagues in the committee were insistent that we at least do a small function. So we said we'll restrict the invitees to the past presidents. And I have a note of apology here. It would have been lovely to have your spouses with us also. But due to the restriction on numbers, I'm sorry I've not been able to extend the invite to your spouses. My sincere apologies. When the 175th year started, Mr. Shankar mooted the idea of bringing out a book. We couldn't think of anybody else but Sriram, who is also one of our senior members and probably the most reputed historian this side of the country. So we discussed with him. Initially we thought we'll capture the events between 1996 and 2021 because there was a wonderful book which was brought out by the then committee in 1996 on the occasion of the 150th year, written by the incomparable Mr. S. Mutaya, which even today I think is probably the best reference book for MCC. It's like an encyclopedia on MCC. So we thought we will continue from there and cover the events. But thanks to this explosion of internet and information technology advancement, Sriram was able to unearth so many facts, so many incidents and anecdotes, even about 100 years back, which probably was not available to Mr. Mutaya at that time. So we thought, okay, we'll capture all those moments of interest, even pertaining to the earlier years, and then take it forward to this year. So this book is not going to be as serious a book as the one brought out on the 150th year. There's a lot of interesting facts. Let me tell you, you'll find the book very interesting to read. And what we have done is we have brought in a lot of lighter moments into the book. Some anecdotes about some of the colorful members of the club. You'll know who they are when you read the book. And some of the very old things probably which even my past presidents are not aware of the happenings in MCC at that point of time. I'm talking about 100 years back. Some very interesting stuff, some very interesting photographs, some of which we have even procured from as far as London. And we brought this all together and made this book. Two things I insisted, this is my, at the risk of being immodest, I'm saying these are my two contributions to the book. One is I said this club owes a lot to its past presidents. So I said we should give them that whatever little bit of recognition or importance that we can. So there is a section here where we have managed to get the photographs of all the Indian past presidents of the club, starting from the first Indian president, Mr. A.M.M. Arunachalam. We had difficulty in getting some photographs, but I think thanks to some of you here and a few others, we managed to get all the photographs. The second thing is, MCC, as you all know, has always been, continues to be, and will always be primarily a sports club. Several of our members have reached the greatest heights in the sports they play, that is representing the country. We have a section where we have highlighted all the members of the club who have represented the country in their individual sports. I hope that makes it's some sort of recognition to them, and more than that, probably an inspiration to the younger members. So that was the purpose of that. Well, when we started this book, we planned for 225 pages. Right, Sriram? Yeah, we finally ended up with 352. Because there was so much of information, we didn't know what to leave out and what to take. And I think all the past presidents have been interviewed by Sriram. Lots of interesting things have been brought out by them. So we decided that doesn't matter. The cost of the book is going up by 50%, but we'll do everything. We'll present everything that has come to us. So we have about, to be exact, I think 352 pages. I think about 400 odd photographs. 400 odd photographs, some of them really old. And I'm sure that all of you will not find it boring to read that book. I can promise you that. And well, as I told you that there are a few people I would like to mention the names who've been behind this book. One is, of course, Sriram, who's written the book. And, many thanks to you, Sriram. Of course, he's our club member. Ranjita Ashok, wife of our past president, P.T. Ashok. She's been, I think, second in command to Sriram, done a lot of work on this book. Then, thank you, Ashok. You can convey our thanks to her. The next is Malvika Mehra, who's the entire designing of the book, the layout, the photographs. Malvika and I have gone through more than 1,000 photographs. And to select, and finally we decided, okay, these photographs, none of them can be avoided. And for those of you who probably do not know, very few, she's the daughter of the legendary Kripal Singh. Thank you, Malvika. And then there's been a young research writer by name Karthik Bhatt, who's also brought in a lot of research and information which is probably dating back more than 100 years into this book. Sriram, you can thank us on behalf of, thank Karthik on behalf of us. Later as we proceed, go to the end of the program, on behalf of the club, I would be presenting some mementos to the team behind the book. Well, I would also like to thank Kadambari Prakash, who is also our club member, for putting together this entire evening here. So whatever you see here today, it's been her effort. And for those of you, just to let you know that she's the daughter of Buchi Prakash, a senior member. This book, I will have the privilege of handing over this book personally to each one of you past presidents here today. And the book will be circulated to will be distributed to the members starting from Monday. And we, the committee, has decided that the book will be distributed free of cost to all the members. We had a budget. We had a budget for the book, which was quite, we thought, befitting the occasion. We need to spend. We should not be worried about spending. So we've done that. We made a budget. We are within the limits, and we are happy the book has come out very well. And finally, I think I spoke a little longer than I wanted to. Very big thanks to all of you for being here today. And once again, a special thanks to Mr. Gopinath. And Mr. M.A. Algappan told me that he will not be able to make it. So I was very surprised to see him here. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. And thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, President. Good evening, Sriram, and welcome you to the event. Sriram, I welcome you here to say a few words, please.
Good evening, friends. Somebody once asked me, what does it feel like to launch a book? I always say that it was only the first book that caused all the excitement. After that, it's like delivering several of them and you're very happy when the book is out. But each book is an experience of a lifetime by itself. And I would like to say that it was so as far as the Madras Cricket Club was concerned. When I became a member 30 years ago, I don't think I ever would have dreamt that a day would come when I would be asked to compile the history of the book once again. I say once again because in my opinion, as President Ramesh mentioned, there cannot be a finer book than Mr. Mutaya's Spirit of Chepauk, which is perhaps a defining book as far as sporting clubs are concerned anywhere in the world and how to go about writing them. So mine is only a sequel as far as that book is concerned. And if at all books can be measured, they must be measured against that particular work. But as it happened because of advancements in technology, I was able to lay my hands on more resources. Ramesh mentioned that, we were able to look at photographs that were not available earlier. I'll just give you a couple of examples. One was, we always speak about how the club was founded in 1846. And I remember when I was asked to make a presentation 1 year ago, I kept saying 1848, and it was Prem who at the end of the presentation actually corrected me and said, no, it's 1846. And that's quite right. So in 1896, there must have been a Golden Jubilee celebration of the club. We know that, the centenary of the club was not celebrated because the World War had come and things like that. And then India was becoming independent and the colonials were not very keen on celebrating it. They had probably other worries on their mind. And so, but we do know that a Golden Jubilee of the club was celebrated. We had no records of that. And then Karthik Bhatt, whom Ramesh mentioned, discovered an interview with Pennyquick, the man who designed the great Mullai Periyar Dam, and who was a secretary of the club as well. And today, if we are here in Chepauk, it is really thanks to Pennyquick, because he was also secretary of the PWD. And I don't know what conflict of interest really there is, but then he was also a member here, he was also secretary, so he signed the document giving us the first lease of this particular land that we are here. And there was an interview with Pennyquick in that magazine where he says that he was leaving India and the Golden Jubilee was celebrated, and he says not only was it celebrated, I was the guest of honor, and at the end of the event I was presented 4 photographs of cricketing grounds of Madras. And I was taken in my chair all the way to the carriage at the entrance of the club, and then I was wished goodbye by the members. So we were very, Karthik and I were very impressed by this, and then Karthik said somewhere in Pennyquick's papers, I'm sure there must be a copy of those photographs. Now the question is, how do you locate Peniquick's descendants? After 1896, we are now in 2020. And so the search then began, and this Peniquick is venerated to such an extent in Theni and other places that you have a statue for him. Recently there was a controversy on that and all that. But there is a fan club for Peniquick in the Theni region, and they name their children after Peniquick and after Logan, who was the man who actually drilled the tunnels over there and all that. So we discovered the secretary of that fan club. He is now living in London. And we sent him an email saying that, are you at all in touch with any of Peniquick's family members? And promptly one afternoon, I get a call from this guy. He's living in London. He says, yes, I know the grandnephew of Mr. Peniquick. I'll put you in touch with him. So we finally get in touch with this gentleman who's living in Germany. And after we'd given up hope, we sent him a mail. There was no response. After 2 months, we get a mail apologizing profusely for the delay. And he says, those photographs are absent. But I have the Golden Jubilee brochure of the Madras Cricket Club preserved in my granduncle's papers. And, my mouth has still not closed after reading that email. So I send him a message saying that we'd be eternally grateful, please send it to us, etc., etc. Next morning, scanned image with not only, and the brochure is a 4-page brochure, it has the 4 photographs that Peniquick mentions. There are 4 cricket grounds of Madras, one in Guindy Government House, one here, one I think is the Presidency Cricket Ground, and there's a 4th that I forget. And these 4 photographs are there, the menu of the evening is there, and then it also lists on the backside the list of presidents and secretaries of the club till 1896. And that is when we realized that a lot of records had to be set right based on that particular brochure, which we then did. And we've also added an asterisk saying that this list is very different from the list that Mr. Mutaya had provided. That's because we have now got this documentation. It would not have been an easy task to complete this book, because I must confess to you here that I am a completely sports challenged person. I have never been able to catch a ball in this life or hold a racket. Sports masters have retired in frustration all along, saying that you will never be able to make it in sports, and how right they were. They were so true. And I never thought that a day would come when I would write the history of the Madras Cricket Club, of all things. And this would have never happened had it not been for the generosity and kindness of all of you. You all gave me your time. You spoke to me patiently, Mr. Shankar, Mr. Aragappan, and then everybody else over here in this audience. Some in person, some via Zoom. Several members who did not become presidents, but who contributed hugely to the sport in this club. I was able to speak to several of them. Great stories, only some of which eventually made it to the book. And if I have a weakness, it's that I end up writing very fat books. On 2 separate occasions, chief guests have actually dropped the book because of the weight. They have never been able to, nobody told them that the book will weigh so much. This has been a great weakness of mine, and this has also lived up to that prediction. We start with an estimation of number of pages and it goes up to much beyond, but such wonderful stories, which in my opinion really brings the spirit of this club alive. My sons, who are now both abroad, always would tell me that there is no club like the Madras Cricket Club, because of the spirit of cheer that permeates this entire environment the moment you enter it. We may enter it with all kinds of worries, but because of the sports that is played over here, there is an atmosphere which makes you very happy, and when you depart, you go as a very happy individual after having spent an evening of games or whatever it is over here. So that atmosphere is what I have tried to capture in this book. In this, Mr. Shankar was, I think, one of the great motivating factors. He read this manuscript not once, but 3 times. And at the end of it has still found out one error after the book was published, which means he probably read it 4 times. But then that is Mr. Shankar. And I'm not going to tell you what that error is, but there is an error. Let's leave it at that. And after that, I would also like to thank my brilliant team, Malvika, who always enters a high state of hysteria every time we have a book, and only comes down from that level of hysteria after the book is released. In between, there'll be curses that, this will never come out. There'll be all it's dealing with Malvika is worse than dealing with everybody else on the book. Ranjita was a pillar of strength, because Ranjita, she has worked with Mr. Mutaya over the years, and so she brought in her own talents into the book. And I think one of the great things that Ranjita did was to create a summary of the earlier volume, which really formed the backbone of this particular work. Without that, writing this book would not have been easy. And then, of course, Karthik, as Ramesh mentioned. Before I leave you, I just have one request. And I think the Madras Cricket Club must consider it. Clubs of our vintage abroad have heritage walks inside the club premises. Today we have reached an age when books, I think that we've come to the end of books. Things have to be taken to a different world altogether. The digital age has come when, if our history and if our atmosphere has to be captured for a future generation, it has to move beyond books, because the world of reading books is passing us very rapidly by. Every corner of this compound speaks history. Right from those 3 pillars that stand at the entrance of the TNCA, right down here. You may argue that those buildings have all gone, the markers are still there. And when I talk about markers, I'm talking about the approximate locations, the stories. We just need a few plaques to be put up, point number 1. Point number 2, we just probably need to have digital narratives at various places, and probably a kind of an app where when people come in, they should be able to go to particular locations and understand what the history behind that particular location was. I think this needs to come about very soon if we want to pass on this heritage to the future generations. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sriram. Friends, we come to the highlight of this evening. I request our past president, Mr. C.D. Gopinath, to release the coffee table book, please. And also to request the first copy will be received by our past president, Mr. M.A. Alagappan. Thank you, Auntie. I request Mr. M. Alagappan, our past president, to say a few words, please.
Thank you, Karthik. I'm indeed very honored to receive the first copy of the 175 not out from Gopi, because if I go back to my early recollections of this club, was when I witnessed a cricket match in Chipak Stadium when we played against England, and I think Gopi's got the blazer on. Gopi took the last catch in front of the MCC stand, and that's how we won the match that day. So that's my recollection of early recollections of the club. The other point I wanted is that, the president mentioned we've been here for 175 years. I only hope that we continue to be here, because this has particularly a very emotional point with me. is that my father was the president of the club when where they entered in, when the original lease ran out, and we had to enter into a new lease with the government of government of Madras those days, and TNCA wanted the entire area, but father thought that we should have a separate. TNCA wanted us to be a sub-lessee, but then father fought and said no, we will have a separate lease, and the TNC will have. And if I remember still right, we supposed to have 174 feet of the boundary line. I'm not sure if that still exists, but that was what was agreed on those days. So I'm indeed very happy to be here this evening, and thank you very much, and thank you once again.
Thank you, Alji uncle. May I request our President, Mr. Ramesh, to come forward to hand over the copies of the coffee table book to our past presidents, please. First one to Mr. C.D. Gopinath, our past president. Mr. Lakshman Swaroop. Lakshay uncle. Mr. Dwaraknath Reddy. Ramesh uncle. Mr. T.T. Ashok. Mr. R.S. Rajshekaran. Mr. K.R. Ganpati. Mr. Mayappan. Mr. Prem Kumar. Mr. Manika Vasagam. Mr. T.G. Tyagarajan. Mr. Srivatsan Subramaniam. Mr. Dhananjay Das. Thank you, President. I request if any past presidents would like to say a few words now, please. Anybody? Thank you. I request now our past president, Mr. C.D. Gopinath, to say a few words, please.
Friends, I really don't know where I should start. I've been a member of this club long before any of you here were born. I've been a member here for 68 years. And when Ramesh asked me to come for this function, I was in Kunur. I had a lot of second thoughts about driving all the way from there for one evening. But then I said, if I don't do this, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. That I must. MCC was second home for me. My wife wouldn't agree with that. She said it was first home for me. Home was the second home. She would pick me up from my office every evening and come to the MCC. And I would say to her, you go and play your tennis, I'll go to the office and come and join you. And she used to get very bugged about it. She'd say, the whole day you spent in the office, you're coming here to relax and you want to go back to the office here. But I said, I know I'll be 15 minutes, I'll probably be 45 minutes, but that's the way we were in the club. And, you know, for almost a decade, I don't think we ever missed coming to the club. Every day we were here with one thing or the other. And even when the children came, they spent the evening here. I spent time in the club office, and then we'll go back all home. So I only, ever since he asked me to join to this function, it was nostalgia, lots of memories of all these years came by, and I was thinking of all the things that happened, some interesting, some exciting, some rather tough things to do. I thought perhaps since all of you are so young, I would mention one or two things that happened which some of you may know, but many may not know at all. One event that came up to my mind was how the stadium happened to be built in this place. The cricket that was played here, all the test matches, got shifted to the Corporation Stadium. And the club was run by the cricket club. And one of the state ministers, senior ministers, called us one day and said, listen, there is a lot of pressure on Kamaraj Nodar from the party people saying, what is this prime land in this city being enjoyed by some 25 people? I mean, this is the best land you can think of in the entire city. And this has been, they played 2 days of cricket, and this land should be put to better use. So there's a lot of pressure on the chief minister to revoke the lease agreement and build government offices or residence for senior people and anything like that. And the minister told us in confidence, very quietly, they said, look, unless you do something, you're going to lose this land. The government is going to take it over because there's a lot of pressure on the chief minister. So I happened to be secretary at the time. Mr. A.M. Arunachalam was the president. I was secretary of the club here, and I had 1 foot here, and I had 1 foot in the association because I captained the Ranji Trophy team for the state. It was called MCA at that time, Madras Cricket Association. So we said, what do we do? No, the only way you save this ground is if you put a structure on this ground, like a stadium, sports, or whatever it is. So we said, the club can't even build one room as an extension because we had no money at all. Where are we going to go and put up a huge structure to save this? We haven't got the resources. And I don't know how many of you would even like to guess what the monthly subscription of the club was at that time. It was 10 rupees a month was the member subscription for the cricket club. And we were hand to mouth. I mean, no way could we raise any funds to build a stadium. And that's how the whole thought, what do we do? Well, how do we go about it? And then M.A. Chidambaram was the mayor of Madras at the time. And he was also president of the Cricket Association. So we got in touch with him and we had discussions of what can be done because they were a public body and they could perhaps raise enough funds to do something about it. Mind you, the Cricket Association also didn't have much money at the time. And we finally decided we're going to save this ground, whatever happens, however it was, whatever the sacrifices might be. So we had, I don't know how many hours of discussion between the two, the club and the association. Of course, on a lot of things we didn't agree and we went back and forth all the time. We had to convince the membership of the club and they had to convince their own committee. And some members would say to us, who were negotiating all this, I want to sit at the bar and watch the cricket match. So there should not be anything in front because I want to sit at the bar and watch the match. So how do you provide for that? So part of the agreement with the MCA, TNCA, was that no building, no structure for about, I can't remember exactly, 250 meters in front of the club will always be open. So that our members can sit wherever they want in the club, including the bar, and watch the cricket match. So negotiations were really tough. And my position was very tricky because I had a foot in both camps. So it was rather tough. But anyway, finally, we agreed. We went to the government and told them that we will surrender the lease if they would give two separate leases, one for the club and one for the association to build the stadium. And we had to come to agreements with the association that the cricket ground will be available for us whenever we want, every Saturday, Sunday, and the association will only play representative matches on the ground. They will maintain the ground, and we had, at that time, our ground was looked after by old Munusami, who knew every blade of grass in this ground. They took him over, and that's how the whole thing developed. Over the years, of course, then there changes, and then they built there and gave the MCC the space to move forward, and they came to various things developed after that. So, in one sense, I think this was early 60s or something. That's how it became Chidambaram Stadium. And as I say, the TNCA also didn't have the money. So Chidambaram gave a personal guarantee to the bank for lending this money. And I can't remember now the figures, but I think the whole stadium cost 1.8 crores at that time. And Chidambaram gave a personal guarantee. On that basis, they got the loan and they built the stadium. So it was quite a story in the sense that, it was very, for two bodies, in some ways contradicting each other, coming to terms. The whole purpose of the exercise was to save the ground for cricket. Because cricket had moved on to the Corporation Stadium by then. And the one way to save the ground was to do this. And finally, that was how it was done. So I thought I'll relate this evening, because not many people would know the background to how it happened. Chidambaram was the president of the association, and AMM Arunachalam was the president of the cricket club at the time. The only other thing I thought I'll mention here, which is a little amusing, we as a team, we were playing a league match one Sunday here, regular association league, first division league match. And they say, I can't remember now, but it had rained the night before. We went into bat, this is the cricket club team, and we got all out for 75 runs. And the other team went in, and 75 runs was nothing. They went past it, and they were virtually going to walk away. We won the match. So I stopped them and saying, look, we want to continue the game. They said, for what? We already won the match. What do we want to continue the game for? I said, no, we are playing a one-day match, not a one-inning match. They said, you can't make all these things. I said, look, it's a one-day game. If we can play 2 innings, we play 2 innings. Just because you got a lead in the first innings, it doesn't mean that's how it's always been. I said, because nobody ever played a second innings. So, of course, we didn't agree, the captains. So we went to the umpire. So I argued with the umpire and I said, we are playing a one-day match, isn't it? And they said, yes. So if I want to finish 2 innings, why can't I do that? Of course you can do that. According to the rules, that's how the rules were. So I told them, you continue batting, we'll get you out and we'll go into bat. They couldn't visualize because no match those days, it's a one-day match, but always it went on the first innings lead. Whoever took the lead won the match. So, because the umpires said, no, what he's saying is right, it's a one-day game. If he wants to play a second innings, he can do that. So we went in, they passed our score of 75 for about 7 or something. We got them out for about 90. Then we went into bat. And like one-day cricket, we went from first ball, hammering away all over. And we made 100 and something, 110 or 100. I declared, put them in. And we got them all out for 70. And we won the match. Oh, they said I was mean. How could I do that? We had won the match and this is what, you took it away from us. It's not right. I said, look, it's not sporting. I said, look, I'm only playing by the rules. That is the rule. It's a one-day match. It's not a one-inning match. So we won the match at the end. Before even close-up play could come, we got them all out for 65 or 70 or something. We won the match. So they were very angry with me. They said I was very mean, very unsporting and everything else. But I said, look, I'm only going by the rules, nothing else. So anyway, I thought I'd just mention this because it was a one-off occasion when in one day we played 2 innings. And although we failed in the first innings, we managed to win the match after that. So that was that. Okay, I think I won't hold you up any longer. As I say, this club means a lot to me. And I've spent a lot of time, a lot of years being here. There's only one thing I was going to say here. The club had a lot of rosewood plaques with carved names of the teams that played from 1800 and something. I hope you can preserve those and find a place for them. They're lovely. I mean, all this Pennyquake and all, they were all in that thing. And every year, it was called Europeans versus the Indians. That match, that whole team, mind you, only the English team, were all on that board. And there must have been for years they've had that. I hope it's there. Very good. I'm very pleased because it's such a, as I say, when you're talking about 1800, those boards must be 120 years ago, whatever. I was hoping you'll find a place for them somewhere in the new building, and that will be preserved for the future. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Uncle. We have a few mementos to be given. This is for the contribution in bringing out this coffee table book. May I request our President, Mr. Ramesh, to come forward, please. May I call upon Mr. Sriram, the author of a coffee table book, to receive the memento from Mr. President. Malvika Mehra, please. Since Mrs. Ranjita Ashok and Mr. Karthik Bhatt are not present this evening, I request Mr. Sriram to please receive the mementos on behalf of them, please.
Gentlemen, just a minute of your time. I forgot a couple of points. You know, that to coincide with the 150th year of the club, 1996, I think the swimming pool building was built then, and the main person behind it was Mr. Dwaraknath Reddy. And this swimming pool stood here for 25 years. And it so happened that to coincide with the 175th year, we made a new sports complex here. The sports complex has a very nice, fully equipped gym on the first floor, the dressing rooms for the gents and the ladies, the 2 squash courts here, and we have a big hall which can be used for aerobics and a part of it for table tennis. Hopefully the construction of the new clubhouse will also happen very soon. Just to keep you updated on the progress, all the applications have been submitted to the CMDA, and we are hopefully looking forward to the clearances soon. Once that comes, that work will start. And since the new facilities are available, I think we can manage with very minimal disruption to the club's activities. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a wonderful evening, and it gives me great pleasure to propose the vote of thanks. I would like to thank all our past presidents, my colleagues in the committee, and all members watching this event live for your presence today. I would like to thank Mr. Sriram, the author of the book, and the following members for the support: Malvika Mehra, Mrs. Ranjita Ashok, Mr. Karthik Bhatt, and our office staff for the contribution in bringing out this book to celebrate the 175 years of MCC. I thank you all once again. Have a good evening. Thank you. I request if all could join us for cocktails and dinner, please.
Gentlemen, can I have your attention, please? I request all the past presidents to come here for a group photograph, please. Thank you.